call to order the town board. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Here.
Trustee Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Holmes? Trustee Frierson?
Here.
Chairman Neal?
Here. And then the agenda, are there any agenda changes?
Oh,
It's not on the agenda, but we can
We
do
can
it.
still do it. Would you be willing to lead us, Mr. Bremner, in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please all join in the Pledge of Allegiance to a flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Now, are there any agenda changes for the meeting tonight? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held November 19th at 6:15 p.m.?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? I wasn't in the meeting, but I watched the meeting. Do I abstain?
No, you can approve the minutes.
Okay.
You've read the minutes,
Well, I read
right?
them and I watched the show. I mean, not the show. It was, okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson? Chairman Neal?
Aye. Are there any citizens' comments tonight? Going once, going twice? Okay. Then we'll move on to authorized bills for payment. Trustee Fisher.
I met with Supervisor Neal and Assessor Wickes actually this morning, and we reviewed the financials. I'd like to submit the financials in the amount of $69,632 for payment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Just general questions about the balance sheet, the long-term liabilities and the installment loan. It went away from last month, and then the debt certificate changed by $200,000.
Yes, so thank you for bringing that up. So I reached out to our accountant. So our debt certificates in the last budget, or in the last financial statement, said that we owed $540,000, and then we also had the payment of $17,198. And this month, it's down to $340,000 with no payment. And so what he shared with me was that in the audit that we just received, that is what the amount had gone down to, and they could not have known that because we are partial cash, partial accrual basis, and so they had to wait until they did the audit in order to be able to make those adjustments. But I spoke with the accountant about with the $340,000 in the bonds that we owe, and asked him as well what his thoughts were about evaluating to see if we should be, looking to see if we can get a lower interest rate or what we want to do. And he said he would love to work on that with us in January.
And so this was a 20-year bond that expires in 2027?
Yes, I believe that.
And so the 340 is correct, and
Yes.
we made all payments for 2019?
Correct. Correct. So, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, good. Any other questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. I just want to share with you, in your handouts, I have this sheet. We approve in approving the financials, we include the magazine, the ZB Quarterly that we're doing, and it's on your right-hand side. I left it here. Okay. And just to give everybody an update of where we are financially, we bring in $8,800 per magazine. Each page is $400, and it's ending up costing us for this issue 50 cents per copy to send out. So I would say that that's probably one of the most fiscally responsible things that we could be doing for the community. But if you look all the way down to the bottom where I highlighted in pink, it looks like we're in the black because with 22 pages, it's right under $400 per page. But when you add in the hours that Sandra has done with the administration, it puts us over a little bit. But as you can see, in the fall issue, we were a little bit over. In the winter issue, we're coming down. And I'm fully expecting that by the next two magazines, the designing costs and Sandra's time in administrating that will go down, and it should balance out. I just want to give you a heads up that I would like to have the board be willing to allow us to absorb the cost of Sandra's time if that does not equal out 100%. I think it's a good cause for us to be able to contribute for the magazine.
So you're saying absorb in the form of overtime, or what are we?
And so she's not doing it as overtime. She's doing it as part of her daily job.
Okay.
So, but we had contributed to everybody that was involved with the magazine that the township should get reimbursed for any administrative costs putting it together. And so that's that cost. So any of the left, anything that's left over with it to be able to do that. But if it ends up not equaling out, that we.
My first choice would be spread it out over all the participants in the program, not just bear the cost for the township.
Well, and that's what we're doing. So and so that's what I'm believing will happen is in the last two that the design cost and that the administrative cost will go down enough that it will absorb it and it'll equal out. But it's not going to be enough, that everybody sends us a
Talking
check.
like $25,
Yeah.
and that's not an issue.
Yeah, right. So, but just to keep everybody in the know that we are tracking that so that we can. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to call for a motion to have a public hearing to propose the property tax levy ordinance. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we open the public hearing on the proposed property tax levy ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Fryerson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. So we now open up the public hearing for the township levy and so should I just share with them what? Okay, good. So one of the things that we learned over the last year, over the years in the township, I was always trained that you want to have 1 year's reserved. When I actually came into as the township supervisor, we had almost no reserves in a number of different situations. And so trying to be the most fiscally responsible I could, we built that up. And now what I'm told is that the most you need to have is 3 to 6 months. And so keeping it at about the 3-month mark, what I want to be able to do is go for another flat levy and keep the money that we get from the taxes. I believe it would actually, if we keep it flat, Larry, it still might go up because property values are going up, correct?
Yes.
So, but doing our part to try and keep ours absolutely flat is what I'm recommending to the board to do. And I would love any input from anybody that what we'll end up doing is if we go over budget, we'll be using up some of the balance that we have. We don't have a ton of balance, but we've got enough to be able to work that down. So there's one area in I believe it's IMRF, where in 2 years we'll have to raise that some because once we go down to the level that we're at, and just so everybody knows what we're proposing that we do is that in the township fund right now we have a balance of $660,000, and our annual budget for the town fund is 785, right about 786,000. And so what I'm proposing is that we lower the reserve down to 200,000, a fourth. So that would be 3 months worth. And so that's the room that we have. And then in the general assistance fund, our current reserve is 248,905, so right about 249,000. Our annual budget is $349,000. And so I'm recommending we keep a $100,000 reserve in that fund. And then under FICA and IMRF, we have that each of those, let's see. So expenses for IMRF are usually $53,000, and then for FICA is about $35,000. And I'm recommending for each of those just having a $10,000 reserve for those to be able to do that work. So we do have some room. It's a little bit of a concern of mine when that does happen, and to try and raise the levy a little bit, right? Then we end up like being in the crosshairs with everybody, but we're trying to do our best to keep everything down and be as fiscally responsible as we can. So that said, this is a public hearing to talk about. Does anybody have any comments or concerns or anything they want to share about that? Does it make sense? What I'm saying, because I know that this stuff can seem, it's really complicating to me, to be honest. I mean, I've been in this a while, so. Okay.
What is the fiscal year for the township?
We begin May 1st, and we go through April 30th of each year.
There's 4 months left.
Okay. If there's no other comments, we will close the public hearing.
No comments?
Okay.
You have to do a motion.
Oh, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion is
Or second.
There you go. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Item 8, consider passing ordinance levying taxes for all town purposes for Zion Township, Lake County, Illinois for the tax year 2019, collectible in 2020. And the recommendation is a completely flat levy to the sum of $930,000 for total expenses, with the town fund at $645,000, the general assistance at $250,000, Social Security $30,000, and IMRF at $5,000. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the levy in the amount of $930,000.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Item 9, consider approval of the amended October 2019 financial report. I just want to say, watching the meeting last month, I appreciated your question, because when I got the financials, looking at it, we were supposed to be right at 50%, and the township staff salaries were at 38.48%. That was a huge red flag for me, and so I reached out, and I recognized that the liability insurance was off, the SUDA was off, as was Amy Owen, our part-time case manager's salary. So something was way off with those. So I reached out to the accountant, and sure enough, it was they had taken funds from the town fund and set it to the general assistance fund, and it helped us to. It was like this ball of yarn, with the 3 different things, and so we were able to get them worked out. And if you notice the updated financials, all of them are in accord, and they're at the 50%. So good job noticing that, and I was like, see, that was. So I reached out to the accountant and the auditor, and they both said it would be better just to reapprove the financials for this month, so that we have them corrected in the official file. So that said, is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the amended financial report for October 2019.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Likewise, we did you approved the treasurer's report last month, and Trustee Holmes brought up in the meeting that there was a duplicate of De Lagladen Financial Services in the treasurer's report, and it turned out when I reached out the next day to the accountant that it was a duplicate, and so I just want to keep everything correct, so I would like to reapprove the treasurer's report and resubmit it to the county with your approval. So is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? And so, and I really appreciate it. So what I asked of her and speaking to you guys is that if you do see something, if you have a concern, something doesn't seem right, to please reach out to me by the day of the meeting so that I can just check, so that we can bring it up here, but we can also vote in the correct information to do that. So I really appreciate everybody's support in doing that. So, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Ryerson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of nepotism policy. And so I put the actual policy in your packet, but if you look, I left at your table or at each of your places a packet of information. And just to share with you, so the nepotism policy that I worked with our HR contractor, and I also worked with Scott Nemenick, our attorney, to check to do this. And so this was what they had recommended. It is the policy of Zion Township to always hire the best candidate for any position. Should relatives, i.e. family members of persons employed by the Zion Township, be hired, measures will be taken so that they will not be working directly for or immediately supervising another relative. This policy will be broadly interpreted in a manner that addresses the issue of inequitable consideration and decisions concerning salary, work assignment, transfers, evaluations, promotions, bonuses, leave, demotions, disciplinary actions, and termination of employment. An immediate supervisor is defined under this policy as the employee on the next higher level of authority above the employee in question, and who normally assigns and supervises the employee's work and approves his or her time records and evaluates his or her work performance. For the purposes of this policy, a relative is defined as a spouse, domestic partner, parent, grandparent, child, brother, sister, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law, step-parent, step-brother, step-sister, step-child, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, half-brother, half-sister, whether the family member is related to the individual or the employee's spouse by blood, marriage, or adoption. I think we covered everybody in that. Hiring supervisors must determine the existence of other related employees and receive approval prior to extending an offer of employment. In any case where related employees are employed in circumstances noted above, which were in effect prior to the implementation of this policy, it is my responsibility to review the circumstances and determine the necessity for change or the granting of an exception. To be clear, with respect to hiring relatives, I will always consider the totality of circumstances surrounding the hire to determine whether unwarranted privilege has been afforded a family member. It is my responsibility and that of the assessor to ensure that we employ candidates who serve our community best. As such, we will continue to manage all projects generated from our prospective offices and will maintain transparency with the Zion Township Board. So, so just to go through the packet, and then I'll come back to it. So, if you go to the next page, Sandra Usher is our business manager, and kudos to her. Friday night, she received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Management from North Park University. So, really proud of her with that. But if you look on her job description, it says manage all contracts and contracted staff. And then if you look at the next page, the contract for services, which is with Brittany Dietzig, who was my daughter, in here it says that she answers to Sandra Usher in that work. And then just to continue, we do an accounts payable voucher that Sandra puts together and I sign off on. But then Britt provides an invoice. This says exactly how many hours, how much time she spent, and on what projects. And then we also include copies of any of the work that she's done. So they do this every month, and Sandra makes sure that she does that.
Given the note that I have here of the text message from Trustee Holmes,
Yep.
and I think just kind of general questions surrounding the policy, I'd make a motion to table this until the next meeting when she returns.
Okay. Well, and just to say, so I spoke with Jackie today, and Jackie's sick with the flu, and she had just wanted to share that she said, I was hoping for a more direct lead in the first paragraph, like, it is the goal of Zion Township to prevent nepotism at all levels within the township while permitting employment of relatives in close personal relationships where the relationship will not be a significant influencing factor lead to the potential of inappropriate behavior or other conflict of interest due to the reporting structure or arrangement of Zion Township, lead to a loss of objectivity in decisions, or lead to the perception of the inability to perform job responsibilities. And so I told her I would make sure that I included that in the discussion, and that when I spoke to Scott Nemenick, our attorney, about it, he said that, he said there is absolutely no state law. There is for federal employees, and even with the city, that you can't work under somebody, you know, in that capacity. He said, but especially in the assessor's division, it's such a narrow scope of responsibility that the training for it is, it's almost impossible to find people in, you know, with those skill sets to hire, and it would be a detriment to preclude that. So I appreciate it. He was like, I can come and talk to you. I was like, no, I don't want to pay you anymore for this. I think we have enough information for it. But yeah, if you would like to wait until the next meeting to.
I'll second the motion to table this until the next meeting in January. You know, and this will give more time for the trustees to review this and reflect on it. And I don't think it's not a dire emergency to get this done tonight.
No, I appreciate we're being thoughtful about it because I think it really matters. Cool. Okay. So there's a motion to table it and a second. Any further discussion? And just, I'm not going to put together, this will be enough information, I hope, to be able to, I mean, I'm not going to do another with Brit, unless you want me to bring next month Brit's, the same
Just
information?
a policy.
Okay.
I mean, I would just say that dramatically, it should probably be not my or I, but the supervisor, township supervisor. And
Yeah, we might want to clean up the language a
paragraph.
little.
Okay, I was
I
just told
agree.
because it was my name on it, because it's my policy that I'm putting in place, that's what I was supposed to do.
Okay.
So I agreed, it seemed like really weird to me to do that, but that's what both the attorney and the HR said, so. And then the next supervisor can change it if they want. Okay. Okay.
We need to vote.
Oh, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Ryerson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
Aye. Next item is to consider the approval of the annual township calendar. Thank you, Clerk Spooner, for putting this together. Is there a motion to accept?
So,
Second.
Any further discussion? I'm curious, in the case that we needed to change a meeting date, what's the procedure?
We have to put it in the newspaper.
Would we put it in the CD?
No, we would have to put it in like the New Sun.
is it
So-
7 days
so-
before?
A what?
Isn't there so many days before you have to publish the date?
Well, it depends on the kind of ad, you know, so,
All right, good. I was just curious how that works.
and I would send it to the county then, because I send this to the county.
Okay. So if there was like a situation where like, I don't even know there was a death or something and we decided
Oh,
to cancel the
if
meeting.
it's an
and move it to
emergency,
another-
no, we just have to do 48 hours.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay. Clerk, please call the roll. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Ryerson?
Aye.
Chairman Neal?
All right. Assessor's report.
Just a couple of quick things. We're done with the people being able to file appeals. We had almost 500 appeals this year, which is up a little bit, but not that much. On another note, though, the countywide, we've had over 25,000 appeals this year, and I think it's definitely a record, probably by 5,000 or 10,000. So you didn't hear it from me, but tax bills may be late this year. It just mathematically, it's not possible to do 25,000 appeals before January. The county's up to their neck with appeals this year. I'm planning on finishing our work by January. We should be done with all our hearings. Once January comes rolling around, we're going to start working on next year's work, and I'd like to turn my books in by early May, so the hearings are done by September 23rd. That's about it. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Moving on. Next item is supervisor's report and announcements. Talked about the financials and Sandra. And so on December 4th, we had our yearly staff retreat. And for the first time, we started off with doing an in-depth SWOT analysis for the team and for the community. And we're continuing that conversation, and we're looking at doing not major expensive, but doing a strategic plan, putting together, where we're at, what our strengths are, and where we want to focus for the next years coming up on. And so I'll be more in touch as we move forward with that. If anybody has any ideas or wants to be involved as we create that, I would love your input to just look at that. So I had a conversation with Mick from the library, and I had a conversation with Marilyn from the Park District, and it feels like it's kind of at a place where it's time to just do a higher level view of where we're at and where we're going, to make sure that we're having the greatest impact that we can. So would love any input of anybody that wants to do that. Additionally, we have been working nonstop on it's called Zion's 2020 Vision, and if you look in the ZB Quarterly, there's actually a QR code where you can scan it and you can do a survey, and the questions asking of, and we came up with 20 different areas that people would want to improve their life, anywhere from being a better parent to getting help managing finances to starting a business, a number of different things. And we're working on pulling together all of the different resources that are available to address each one of those. And we're looking at having that as a resource guide beginning January 1 for people to be able to do. And the one of them that two of them I'm really proud of is we met with a couple of realtors, the affordable housing. I'm trying to think who all was at the table. It was just a really different group of people that we've never had sitting at the table before. And our goal was to figure out somebody that has no income and is on Section 8 housing, but they want to own a house someday. What's the path? How do you get from here to there? And so we put together a four-phase process. And we're finishing that up. Actually, Carmen Garcia, she's a realtor with RE/MAX. She's working on putting together a little bit more bigger list on if you want to buy a house, and then having a grapher. We're really proud of that work, and it was kind of cool because the committee, when we shared with them what they had done and what we've been, trying to put together, they were blown away at how it came together. And so I'll be really excited to be able to share in the next meeting how that came out and what that looks like. So. And then the other one, the concept is being a better parent. And I had a conversation. So one of the things that I love that's going on in our community is that on Monday nights, Christ Community Church houses Love Inc., and they have a program called Affirming Potentials and Boundaries, Setting Boundaries. And they provide a meal that is through a Roberti House in Waukegan, and then childcare is provided through their Awana program. And it works out just really well. And so that's the Loving program is one of the things that we're going to be really promoting with the 2020 vision, including they're doing finances and faith, and they're doing Affirming Potentials. And it's a free program. It's 12 weeks long, and they just do an in-depth dive. If you want to do, if you really want to make a shift in your life and make some changes and be more, whatever, they really come up alongside you to be able to do that. And so I was looking at that model, and I was meeting with Rebecca Langley was in the room, and then MP and Rebecca from Nakasa, and we were just talking and threw together an idea. And what we're looking at doing is on Tuesday nights, Grace Missionary Church has agreed to have Nakasa come in and do parenting classes for ages preschool on up. The Awana program is preschool on up. So we're looking at doing some things to fill the gap for 0 to 2 so that we have that as a resource in the community. And then on top of it, ironically, if you've read the book Rejection Proof by Zhai Zhang, he is an international speaker, and he's from China, and he spoke at the Global Leadership Summit. And what he said is that the reason that we don't move forward is because we're so afraid of rejection that it stops us every time. And we've been working on this project Zion together for quite a while with new tech interns last year, and then working again this year. And just the whole concept around Zion Together is to get neighbors willing to know each other and work together to make their neighborhood better. Right? Instead of hiding in your house and being, just hoping that like the police department, the city, and somebody else will take care of it, getting to know your neighbors and like owning your neighborhood, making it a neighborhood that you can be proud of. And what we found, even with the kids that were doing the internship, is people are so afraid of rejection that they won't go to their neighbors and ask if they want to do it. And so I reached out to Zhejiang with the rejection-proof concept and shared with them the dynamic of our community, and he wants to help. And so he created this app called Dear Me, and you take the challenge to be able to do whatever. And in the ones that he's launching and practicing now, you actually have to pay $20 to be a part of whatever the dare is. And so he used the example of being a better parent. And so each person that's up for the dare contributes $20. And then for 8 weeks, you do just one thing. Like, so the first week, the one thing that you do is you spend 30 minutes with your kid. That's it, just spend 30 minutes with your kid. And then after that week, you come back together and you share the impact or what happened with that 30 minutes. And so each week for the 8 weeks, you do something different. And whoever's still at the table after the 8 weeks, not only do you get your $20 back, you get to divvy up all the money for the people that aren't there anymore. And so he gets not a dime, and everybody in the group gets to have that. So I told him that we would put out the survey and we would see what kind of response we got for the 20 different opportunities, and then I would talk to him after that. And I was like, so why? What's in it for you? Right? And he said, Sherry, he spoke at the National Speakers Association Conference and then the Global Leadership Summit. He was like, I'm really doing well with that. He was like, but it's not fulfilling. It was like working with a community like yours to really engage people and help them to make a shift would be completely fulfilling. So I don't know where that's going, but it's just another piece that we're willing to it's not something that gung ho. We're just taking it one step at a time, but it would be interesting to have that. So moving forward on those two things. So if you go to the information for the 2020 vision is also going to be on the ZionTogether.com website. So, and the Zion Together plan is fully lined up. I received word from North Shore Gas. So working with Ray and Vic from the street department for the city, the Zion Together signs, it would be just like the neighborhood watch signs, but the Zion Together signs, the guy said it would be like $50 a sign. And it was like way too expensive to try and incorporate. So I reached out to North Shore Gas, and they are going to be giving us a grant for $2,000. $1,000 of that will cover 50 signs, as well as some yard signs for the Zion Together project. And then the other $1,000 they wanted to go towards the ring program. So they'll be sending a check to us, and so then we'll be. So speaking of that, that's gonna, because they also sent us a check for Shop with a Cop, and they can't resubmit that check, so they asked us if we would then transfer that. So in our books, we're going to have $2,000 that came to us that we're going to be redirecting to the city. So just so you know. So that's kind of what we've got buzzing at the township, working on that really well, and things seem to be going really well with that. So stay tuned, and we're looking forward to just. There's something about the energy of 2020 that's like having a clear vision, and what we know to be true is that when you focus on what you want, you have a much better chance of getting it. But we tend to focus on what we don't want, and we have a really good chance of getting that, and that's what we tend to do. So trying to get people to shift into what they want in that way. So that said, that soapbox situation, right? But the last thing I just want to bring up, I watched the last meeting that I missed. And in the end, Larry mentioned that he is going to be retiring in 2020. And so I would like to put it on the agenda for the next meeting to just begin, what does that look like? What's the procedure so that we can have a smooth transition? And Larry and I had a long talk about it today, and there's a number of things that need to be discussed and thought through as we do that. So if you guys are okay with that.
On your report, it says Assessor Wickett's retirement begin, and then it's cut off. So what?
Begin discussing for transition?
I see. Okay.
Is that on there?
No.
It's cut off.
Oh,
It cuts off.
it's on mine. So yes, so begin discussing plan for transition.
Okay.
Good. So just let everybody know, the next 2 weeks, beginning Monday, I will be the only one in the office, so praying that I can manage. Adriana Ortiz, our full-time case manager, she is due to have her baby next Monday, so she will be out for 3 months. Amy Onan, our part-time case manager, is going from 3 days to 4 days a week to help manage that. Adriana, I told her she has to stay till Friday. She's, I don't think I have too much to say about it, but we shall see. So just sharing that, and just really grateful. Adriana has done an incredible job training Amy Onan to make sure that that we are covered with especially the general assistance clients, the people that we work with every month to try and help them either get back into the workforce or on disability, whichever one they need. And so if you know of anybody, especially if you know of a grandchild that is couch surfing and not working, tell that person, send them to the township. We will help to make sure that they're able to be self-sufficient. They get a voucher to be able to help with necessities and to be able to do that. So we just want to help residents to be as successful as they can. So with that, I think that is everything. Yep, that's all I have. Is there anything else to come before the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I'm wishing this question of Assessor Wickets.
Sure. Yeah, that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
I did pay attention to your remarks, and I'm curious, of those thousands of appeals, approximately how many of them are successful, either raw numbers or percentage, about how much, again, in either dollars or percentage, the taxes lowered, and where do the majority of those appeals come from? What community do they come from?
Okay,
I don't mean to put you on
no,
the spot.
no, that's fine. As far as a percentage of successful appeals, I think since this is a reassessment year, I think the percentage of wins is probably pretty low. I would say probably, this is off the cuff, I would say 20 to 30% maybe might get a reduction. Where the most appeals are coming from, my buddy in Vernon Township, who only has 18,000 parcels, has over 5,000 appeals.
Wow.
So that's saying that a third of his township is filing appeals on properties. And you have to look at it from the Board of Review's stance. You can only do 35 appeals a day. So what they're doing now is having 4 or 5 boards at once doing 35 appeals. So it makes the staff go crazy. There's just no way you can keep up with it. Usually the biggest ones are Vernon, Moraine Township had over 3,000 appeals. West Deerfield Township had over 3,000 appeals. So the majority of appeals come from the southern edge of the county. And Benton had a couple hundred, Newport had 100, I had 500, Waukegan had 1,800. So the majority of them come from the southern counties. Or southern townships. But since this is a reassessment year, I think the percentage of wins are lower for the taxpayer than it is the assessor's office. That's my...
What's the dollar involved per
Oh,
percentage?
I couldn't even guess at that because like commercial properties, we have a hotel in Zion that filed an appeal, and they're looking for a $500,000 reduction. Now, Joe homeowner his value may be at $1,000 or $100,000, and he's only looking for a reduction to $85,000. So it just depends. It's case by case. But at the end of the appeal season, I'll have some stats and I'll read them out to you guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McDowell?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Frierson? Chairman Neal?
Aye. Meeting adjourned.